now here. So I'd like to welcome Dale Williams, a renowned physiotherapist. We're just going to have a quick chat, just ask a few questions. So Dale, tell me then, how can I benefit from physiotherapy?
Well, it's one of those things, it's kind of a useful tool because many people walk around with injuries all the time and they kind of pass off any pains or niggles to just kind of old age or it'll go away itself. But actually physiotherapists, and myself included, are the kind of people that you can go to and actually identify what the cause of the problem is. And you know, the best thing to do is to get down to the cause rather than just treating symptoms, because then you'll make it go away. Now, you know, the GPs are there and a useful tool, but their specialty is in a whole mass of things. So they don't specialize in kind of those down the aches and pains to do with joints and soft tissue and nerves and things like that. Whereas that's what the physiotherapist specialist is. So it's a way of getting out of pain, out of problems, really. It gives you a way out. Yeah.
Just as you mentioned old age, were you meaning me?
Well, I'm looking at you on camera, do you know what I mean? Camera doesn't lie.
Brilliant, excellent, Dale. So we've worked with each other kind of for 5 years at Banningtons, you know, and I know you're a very hands-on physiotherapist.
Yeah.
And you know, I've had the pleasure to working with you, helping support my clients and even my own personal kind of aches and pains and stuff. How are you adapting to the new world in lockdown?
Oh, it's a challenge. It really is a challenge. You know, because you or whoever's watching this, if they've worked with me, they know how much I'm on hands-on, and they know how much I use my hands, one, to get you out of difficulties, but for assessment as well. But actually, it's quite a good time for me to fine-tune my skills, because the initial, you know, when you go into a physio and they're asking you all the questions and things, at the end of that, a good physio should have an idea of what's wrong with you. And actually the testing part of it is only to confirm what you're thinking is going wrong, or actually to think, oh, actually you've thought a lot of rubbish, you have to go down a different road. So it's helping fine tune my skills, but it's definitely a challenge. I think it's more frustrating because I'm giving people, obviously, more of an educated kind of an idea of what's going on with them. And giving them ways out by using home exercise programs. It is frustrating though, because I know I could get them out of it a lot quicker by getting my hands on them.
Yeah, yeah.
But you know, we've all got to adapt. You know,
Absolutely.
At least I can do it. At least I can do it with a gin next to me and nobody's.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant, Dale. So, with the current social distancing measures in place, how would people who currently have injuries right now get help?
Oh, look, it's going to be tricky, you know, but there are ways. If people that are watching kind of you on this Facebook have already kind of access to physiotherapists, a lot of people are adapting to this time. So even their own physiotherapists that they're making contact with will probably do virtual assessments and guidance for them. So it's out there. They just have to either connect with somebody that they know. If not, find somebody that does, like myself, doing virtual assessments and kind of recovery aids kind of thing. So, you know, I haven't advertised it out there that I'm doing it, but people are contacting me and I'm just picking them up as I'm going along. So it's, you know, it's ticking away.
Excellent. It's good to know that there's a help out there as well. Yeah. If you know, if we've got problems, then we kind of shouldn't really be suffering. So,
oh God, no.
You know, during this obviously global pandemic, you know, a lot of people. What I've noticed, Dale, is a lot of people.
Global pandemic.
The elephant in the room, you know, that's going down just now. So, in terms of what I've noticed, Dale, is that, you know, lots of people now exercising now.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing live online videos, they're going out running, cycling, you see them out there, and they've maybe not done that much exercise before. Yeah. In other words, in your words, your favourite words, I've kind of stole them as well, going from zero to hero. I think you've said that to me a few times over the years. What would you advise to them?
Yeah, it is a tricky one. You know, what you've got to think about when you're, especially because that's 0 to hero. Let me explain that in regards of how it affects your body. Because people will be, let me give you an example. People maybe go to the gym and they're on the cross trainer, and they're quite good on the cross trainer. They can kind of crank it out. They can be going for 40 minutes at a really high level, and that's great. That's their fitness. But if they, because of this COVID-19 going on, they go out and decide, okay, I'm going to transfer that now out to running. So their fitness is there. That's not a problem. But what they have to consider is that the impact on their joints, on their tissue, it's changed from a cross trainer where there's very low impact through your joints and through your tissue, even though it's getting a good workout, and the forces going through it are less to when you're going out running. So if you consider because numbers are something I work with numbers because I'm scientific based, but if you think about anybody watching this, that when you start running, it's probably 6 times your body weight through every step when you're running. So on the cross trainer, it's at the lower level of probably 1 or 2 times your body weight going through it. So you've got that huge increase. If you do the maths, just times that by your body weight and you'll see how much more forces are going through your joints. Now, if you go straight out and say, right, I can go on the cross trainer for 40 minutes and then go out and say, right, I should be able to go out for half an hour. Actually, the forces that are generated through that, your body's not going to cope with it, and actually they're going to cause trauma. So what you've got to do, that 0 to hero, is not think about your cardio level. Well, that's one impact. What you've got to think about is how much change is happening to your body, because what the body doesn't like is extreme change. So if you go from doing nothing to a high amount of impact, then your body won't cope with that. It's something that'll fail on you. So you've got to kind of build it up really, really slowly. And you know, the only way you do that is if you've got the knowledge, great. You know, you can go out there and just slowly build up and slowly build up. But if you haven't, if you need a bit of guidance, then that's the time to go out and seek a bit of help. I mean, like you guys who are doing it online now, you know, it's just getting that plan in place that you can look after yourself, get the exercise in, but build it up nice and steadily so that halfway through you're not having to wait another 4 weeks to get back to exercise because you've destroyed your body. Does that make sense with the 0 to hero?
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense to me, Dale. Certainly in terms of, like, you know, I wasn't well for, I've just got back into exercise. So when I went out this week, I started at Couch to 5K week 1.
Yeah.
And I've really, really pulled myself back. And for the first 2 weeks in my training program, I have what's called prep stage.
Yeah.
And it's getting that physiological adaptation again. So everything's really, really easy. Then I kind of go into like a base phase where it's basic fitness.
Yeah.
I work on that for maybe 4-6 weeks, depends on what I'm training for, what events I'm training for, etc. Then I kind of go into a build phase.
Yeah.
I usually do my races, and then I go into like a transition period, so where I'm getting the recovery.
Yeah.
That took me a long time to learn this.
Yeah. Yeah.
to get it right.
Yeah, that's actually a really good example, especially for your, you know, your client base that's watching. Is that, you know, you're an Ironman, aren't you?
Yeah, though I've not mentioned it today.
But you're an Ironman because you're recognizing that you haven't caused too much trauma through your body for such a long time due to illness, that you've gone from couch to 5K to kind of build that trauma back up again, which is you know, from an Ironman to that is huge, but you've recognized that your body wouldn't cope with the level of stress just now, so you've built it up. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I mean, you're right to highlight that. It's a.
Well, but you're an Ironman.
I know, yeah, well, there is that as well, but it's hard to, you know, like for somebody like myself who wants to go and, like, I've talked to quite a few clients who we've probably had but let's talk about the COVID-19, maybe possibly potentially have had it. I think there's clients that have got potential and they're desperate to start back again.
Yeah.
You know, and really their bodies have taken a hit. And I think if there's anybody out there watching this today that are going through the same, is that don't rush back into the world of fitness, and it's got to be that kind of gradual kind of and it's hard for somebody like me, but I've got to write that down. If I don't write it down and plan it out, then I'm more than likely to then go from 0 to hero.
Yeah.
So
sorry, there's the two sides you've just got to consider. There's the side of your cardiovascular fitness, and certainly with COVID-19, it's a respiratory effect. So
absolutely,
there's definitely a cardiovascular fitness, but what I'm speaking about in injury base more so, because you will get injury from fatigue as well, but from injury bases, you've got to think about your tissue adapting to the stresses that you're going to put it into. So you've got to think about, am I putting as much stress on my tissue running on hard ground as I was on the cross trainer or on the bike in the gym? And then you've got to not think about how much fitness you've got to strip it back to how much force you're putting through your body. And then you won't kind of fall into a situation where you're going to get injured. Yeah, hopefully not.
Perfect.
If you do, give me a call.
We'll leave Dell's number up. Don't worry. You'll be getting inundated after this, Dell, I'm sure. So a lot of people have kind of gone the opposite direction then. So this is something that I've experienced in the past, certainly working with yourself. So they've gone from, they're now not doing anything. They're maybe on the sofa more, they're not moving as much, and maybe got a lot of stiffness and pain, etc. What would you kind of advise to them?
Yeah. It's the same with the flip side of it. So if I speak a little bit, I'm not going to go in depth, but I speak a little about the physiological effects of the body. The body adapts to whatever stresses and strain you're putting on it. It adapts. It's called remodeling, and it does it to your bones and it does it to your soft tissue. So it's continuously remodeling to cope with what stresses and strains. So that's what I was speaking about when you're going up and increasing your load through your body. You've got to do it slowly so your body can continue to adapt to it. So it'll get stronger. It's the same when you're not doing any exercise. If you sit down more just now because of what's going on, you're not up and about walking as much. If you find yourself sitting doing less exercise, your body will adapt to that. It'll start switching off muscles that were switched on before. Some muscles will start getting tighter because of the position that you're sat in. Some muscles will start getting longer and weaker because of the position that you're sat in. So it's a knock-on effect. And then if you're doing this, you're changing your tissue because you're sitting down more and doing less exercise. When you go out and do your exercise, your tissue's not adapted for that, so it's not going to cope with it. Now, if I put it in a time frame, your tissue adapts over 20 minutes. So if you hold your tissue in a position for longer than 20 minutes, it starts to adapt. Yeah. So if you're holding kind of a muscle in a shortened position for 20 minutes, let me give you an example. My favorite muscle is the hip flexor. So if I give you an example, the hip flexor sitting down, when you're sitting down, your hip flexor is in a shortened position. So if you sit there for any longer than 20 minutes, that muscle starts to adapt and remains short. So when you go to stand up, if you're sitting for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 2 hours, that tissue's adapted and won't go back to the length that it was at before. Now, what happens then is that you've got to consider where that muscle's attached to and it has an effect on the body. Now, with that muscle, if that's held in a shortened position, it can compress your bottom of your back down and can cause back pain. So that's the knock-on effect if you do less exercise and don't switch on your muscles or change the position of your body as you were doing before. Then this knock-on effect is your body will adapt and you'll have a knock-on effect where it'll cause problems for you, where things won't be working or things will start getting damaged. So it really is, I've said to you before, is the worst thing. Me as a physio, I can think about once in my career that I've ever said to anybody, stop exercising, because the worst thing you can do is stop exercising, because if you stop, everything else that's being held together by you exercising, is going to fall to bits. And so that original injury that you've come to see me at will be the least of your problems because everything else will have fallen to bits. Yeah. So you've got to, me as a physio, I always work around the injury so you can still exercise whilst getting the injury better. Okay. And you've got to consider that. You've got to consider that if you stop doing everything that's being held together by those muscles that you're working are going to fall to bits. So all those aches and pains are going to increase. Okay. So it's getting that balance right, though. That's where your expertise comes in as well, as a PT.
Yeah.
It's getting that balance right.
I mean, that was pretty amazing what you've just said there, Dell, in terms of you've never told anybody, bar maybe once, to stop exercising. It's really, I love you saying that. I love what you've just said there. I would agree. I'm totally 100% behind you on that. And I think I remember from experience, I took a 2-week break over the Christmas, and I got stuck in, and you told me never to stop again, you know. Yeah. I've not stopped since then, to be fair, you know. But no, that's awesome. So I've got a few client questions, because there's been a few people putting in requests and stuff like that as well. Again, I think you've maybe probably explained quite a lot of it already. I've got one client who maybe went a bit fast with the running. She's not really done much running before, and she's got shin splints. So, you know, what would you say for that? What kind of...
Yeah, do you know, it's a tricky one, because shin splints are the symptoms and it's not the cause. So I wouldn't suggest that to manage it just now, because in my experience, pain up the front of the shins, 99% of the time is because the ankle's not working properly. So it might be a little bit blocked, and it might have got blocked because she's gone back hard and fast onto hard surfaces. So it's difficult to manage that. Now, bearing in mind, I'm answering these questions without knowing the people. So, you know,
yeah, absolutely.
Put it in general context. It's not down to an individual, but certainly if during this time, because I couldn't get my hands on somebody, my suggestion would be to, one, see if they can run on softer surfaces a little bit more. So if there's an opportunity to go on grass, every opportunity. And also recognize when the shin splints or the pain up the shins comes on. Recognize when it comes on, and that's the point to stop. So she has to build up. So I think is it a she? Sorry.
It says, yeah.
So she has to build up. So it's a case of running, recognizing when that pain's coming on the front of the shins. That's her limit, not her cardiovascular limit, but that's her tissue limit.
Yeah.
So she has to, that's her baseline now, and she has to build up from there. And then what you'll be doing is giving her some strengthening exercises of more of the muscles at the back of her calf to get the stability back in the ankles and offload the ankles. So the strengthening of the calf muscles more so.
She's gone on the bike. She's got a bike now. So again, we're starting with like 5 minutes per day and just building that up. So again, going back to that, you know, I think that's probably maybe more suitable for her to begin with anyway.
Right.
And I'll add more strength training exercises for the calves in there. So that's brilliant.
Right.
Again, I've got a couple of running ones. So I've got Jade, who's maybe had, I think you've kind of answered the questions with the knee. She's got a bit of knee trouble with the running.
Yeah.
Just a bit, I think maybe going that overloading possibly.
Yeah, and again, it's difficult without me knowing, because we're knowing what's going on inside the knee. But generically, right? I don't want anybody suing me. That's what. Generically, when you've got knee problems, certainly just now, is one, do that bit, find your baseline, and don't push beyond that, and just build up gradually. But the other thing as that she should be exploring with you is actually looking at her strength around her hips and also her hamstrings. Because if they're not in kind of playing ball just now, then her knees are not going to be stable as much as they should be. So it's certainly something she could work on, and see if that has an impact on her knee just now.
Yeah, again, having worked with you over the years as well, Dale, you know, that's the kind of stuff I've been doing anyway with the hamstrings, the glute muscles, getting the hip flexors off as well. I've got Bella as well that's got a little bit pain in her hip as well. Again, she does do a lot of running. She enjoys a lot of running. She's getting a little pain around the hip areas. Would you say it's similar kind of front hip area?
Ask Bella how much sitting she's doing now.
Right. Okay.
So it's find out how much sitting is she doing in between her running, because that's, if you're only running for a short period and you're sitting for a lot, that's going to have a huge impact of going out for a run, especially in the hip. And because if you're doing all the strengthening with her, that might be the tipping scale. If she reduces that 20-minute rule of sitting, if she kind of adapts that, if that's the case, that might not be, she might be really active during the day. But just to be aware of that, if she's sitting for long periods just now, that's going to influence her going out running. But definitely targeting the hip flexors and the glutes and everything will help.
I've got a stand-up desk as well. I'd recommend one of them as well for the office as well. They're pretty handy as well. So when I'm doing my client calls during the daytime, I'm sitting today. I'm in the sofa today. This is chat time. But when I've got my calls, I'm standing. So yeah, recommend that.
Regular cups of tea.
Absolutely, no sugar though. Yeah, so I've got a couple of clients. I've got Donna, who does suffer. I think you've maybe even met Donna before, possibly, with back problems, back pain, and she has got some problems with the disc. I can't remember what it was. You wrote a report for me back then, but I thought I should mention it. I mean, she's doing really, really good. She is progressing herself. I don't know what you know, I had somebody else contact me today. Dion, her name is, and again, she's not really started this exercise business yet. So what would you kind of say to anybody that's got back pain right now and it's maybe kind of like they're going to doctors and
it's a tricky one, you know, especially without assessment. Because the back, you're bringing in a lot of different things with the back, so it would be, you know, probably for me to comment on individual cases would be difficult. All I can say is a generic way is the one way that you're going to offload your back if that's the problem, but it can be so many different things going with the back. So I'm not going to tie down to one thing, but if it's just a generic kind of ache in the back, then the one thing that you can kind of target is actually the glute muscles that'll offload it, or stretching off the hip flexors that'll offload it. But be careful with the back. Whoever's coming in with back problems, definitely be careful with that, because I wouldn't like to give them advice on things to do. The one thing I say is that nothing should cause you pain when you're doing exercise. So nothing should increase the pain, it should resolve it. If it increases the pain, don't do it. Yeah.
I totally agree, Del. I think, you know, we're on the same page with when it comes to pain, and maybe that was a bit, you're right, I wanted to keep this pretty generic to kind of generic, and you've kind of almost answered one of my questions for one of my clients who I spoke to yesterday. She's got a little bit Marie, sorry, and she was talking about like her hips were a bit tight, and I think I said you've answered the question. She was thinking it was her core muscles. I was saying it's probably more the fact that her probably glutes and her hamstrings aren't firing right now, and she needs to stretch off the hips. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Hip flexors. Yeah.
Hip flexors. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, absolutely. So I do have another couple of questions for you, and one of them was Liz on behalf of her daughter.
Hi, Liz, if you're watching.
So. She's just had a C-section as well, about 12 weeks.
Liz?
No. No, Del. Our daughter's just had a C-section about 12 weeks ago, and she's unable to kind of bathe the baby and can't lift her out the bath. Have you got any advice for that? I'm not sure, you know.
If it's 12 weeks ago, then the healing's pretty good. However, there's just because the slice through the tissue and there'll be scar tissue there, it'll be pretty weak. So it's core strengthening. It's that you have to start. I'm not sure what level she was at before she started in regards of how much strength she had in her core, but you have to start very low, you know, and then build up. So it might be well worth tapping into you to put find out what her baseline is, and then just put in a very low core exercise regime together to build up, because it's all about, you know, if you imagine it's just been sliced through all the tissue, and that tissue is just now weak. So it will come back, but you're looking for low level core exercises. So even just isolating individual muscles, like transverse abdominis and external internal obliques, just isolating those muscles and just getting them back on side. Even some breathing techniques as well, diaphragmatic breathing. No, I've got a freeze. No.
Technology. Oh, you're there. You're there. You're back. You're back. You're back. I was panicking there. I was panicking.
Mate, you frozen the most unfortunate face.
I was like, oh no! Oh no! Yeah, just so low-level core exercises, transverse abdominis.
Yeah. So the
exercises.
isolating, diaphragmatic breathing, things like that is really just low-level stuff, and then just build up. But it will come back. But if you don't work it, it's never going to come back. Yeah. So she'll definitely have to put in a little bit of effort with it on a daily basis just to get it fired back up again.
Excellent. And of course, Liz herself has just come back from a full knee replacement 13 weeks ago. I think she was back in the gym seeing you like 4 weeks after the operation. The bionic woman herself. Yeah, she's got a bit of swollen around the back of the knee certainly when she's going down the stairs. I think it was. Is there anything else she should be doing? She's saying icing, or is she being impatient?
Look, if I know Liz, she might be going slow down the stairs, but I bet she's running up them. Look, 3 months, post-surgery. Yeah. Is it 12 weeks?
Yeah, 15 weeks, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Post massive surgery. Yeah. Give it time.
Okay.
So she can, I continue with isolated exercises, all the exercises for the posterior muscles, the hamstrings, the glutes, things like that. It will come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Perfect. So I just want to, I've got a few more questions. I won't take any more of your time up. I appreciate you're a busy guy. You're going to be inundated globally online now, you know. So general questions like, you know, even just like stuff that we've covered before. Like I've got this one guy who's kind of been lifting hay bales. Actually, he's got his own farm. In fact, he lives in Germany actually, and he was just kind of come. He's an Iron Man as well. So there we go. That's how I met him. Again, just going on about the shoulder. He's got a bit of shoulder pain, a bit of stiffness down the neck. You know, what would you kind of say for any kind of shoulder injuries? Like, it sounds like his upper. I mean, to me, it sounds like his upper traps have fired on. Yeah,
most definitely. Especially, so even with he's baling hay, is he?
Yeah.
So it's that repetitive load at the front of the body.
Yeah.
So crossing over, for those that are watching, if you're thinking about whenever you're working, especially people who are desk jobs, like if you're working continuously at the front, then all the muscles at the front become short and tight, and all the muscles at the back become long and weak. So with this, your client there, is that hay baling is all happening at the front with load. So he's probably strengthening everything, holding everything through here. So certainly with somebody like that, now this is without assessing him, but certainly a good starting point would be looking at how well his stabilizing muscles in the shoulders are holding his shoulders together. So things like the lower muscles behind the shoulder blade, like the mid and lower traps, are they working as efficiently as the upper traps? Because it might be his upper traps are doing all the work because everything's working at the front. And it's the same with people, for the people that are watching, it's the same with people with desk jobs, as I say. If you're working at the front, typing on a typewriter out here, your muscles, these muscles here become short and tight here, then they become dominant. So it's like I was saying to you before, that the tissues adapt to what's stressed and strained. Now, you're doing this for a desk 8 hours a day, not like this, best muscle here. 8 hours a day, so that's getting short and tightened 8 hours a day. These muscles are weakening for 8 hours a day. Then you go and exercise and you're going, well, why am I getting shoulder pain? Well, the muscles aren't working the way you want them to work in the gym. So it's that kind of influence again. So I would say with you know, him or her, him is it? Yeah. I would say he needs to be looking at the opposite muscles to see if they're controlling things as well as the muscles that are being dominant. Yeah.
I think that pretty much was what I advised them anyway, you know.
What did you ask me for?
It was more for the viewers. It was more for the viewers. You kind of really answered a good question there about the desk. You know, I've come across it so often working with you as well, with lots of clients that have similar issues. So, you know, it's quite a common kind of problem, you know, and then people think, and then they stop. They're like, oh, I can't exercise.
Yeah. It's a huge problem. And also the sitting position for the length of time at the desk is just what I was saying before, things shortening and lengthening, a huge problem. And there's two things, if anybody was to take away, because if people are working from home just now through this, if there's two things to take away from this today, is that change your position at your desk for your shoulders in the way, pull your keyboard in really close to you and pull your mouse in close so that your shoulders are sitting back all the time, not sitting forward. And get out of the chair every 20 minutes. Those two things would make a huge difference to any aches and pains that you're experiencing in your back, hips, shoulders. Yeah.
Excellent. So,
two top tips for the day.
Brilliant. I'll move my desk. I'll stand up at my desk. Does that make a difference?
Yeah, it's good to adjust between the two of them. Otherwise, you're just in one position standing up. So that can bring its problems.
Okay. So, brilliant, Del. Thanks for your time today. One last question. What would you say to anybody that's suffering in silence just now?
Get the gin out. No, I'm only kidding. So,
oh dear.
So, there's no need to. There's no. As I said before, people often push aside niggles and pains and put it down to, oh, it's just old age, or it'll get better, or I know what that is. And actually, it ends up going on for weeks, months, and, you know, there's no need to suffer in silence with it because there's always a way out, usually. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. So there's always a way out, usually. No, I would say there's always a way out. Yeah. If you can just get help either from PT, like experienced PT like yourself, or a physio, is just finding out what the root of the problem, the cause of the problem, or identifying weaknesses, because that's your specialty as well, is identifying weaknesses in muscles.
Yeah.
And if you can target those weaknesses or muscles that are working too strong while other ones are being knocked out of the park, then that is a way out. Yeah. So there's no need to suffer in silence. Even through this kind of thing, there's no need to suffer in silence. There's always kind of ways out. And I think, you know, I know sometimes it's a bit down to people forking out money, but, you know, the way I look at it is you go out and people go and spend a night out and spend 50 quid on a night out. And it usually only takes a short session to sort out your pain. You know, it makes a huge difference on life. There's one other bit of advice that I give to people, especially if you know, going to look for source physios or therapists, is that you should expect to see a significant improvement within 3 sessions. If you are not, the physio's either got it wrong or you need to see more specialized person like an orthopedic consultant. You should not be going to see therapists for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Yeah, they've missed the mark. Yeah, so it's always a good rule to go by. Is if you're thinking, oh, I don't feel it's getting better, I don't feel it's getting better. If it's not, that might not be your problem. It might be the therapist has missed it. Yeah. So you don't feel you have to hang in there. You know. Yeah. Shop around.
I think that's what's great with working with you, Del, is you get them in, you diagnose their problem, and I think that's what people miss, that diagnosis stage. Yeah. Yeah. They don't know, so they're not then given a plan to then go and work with their personal coaches or work on their own in terms of rehabilitating themselves and fixing the problem. Like you say, that way out that you've just talked about there.
Yeah.
I think that's key. So listen, I really appreciate your time today. I'm going to sneak in one more question. What's your favourite movie box set that you're watching just now?
Oh, actually, I've been watching True Blood from the start.
Really?
Oh,
I've never watched. I started watching Gangs of London last night. Was that True Blood called?
What?
True Blood, did you say?
Yeah, but it's all about vampires and things.
Oh, brilliant. Now, listen, really appreciate your time today. It's been magnificent having you in here on the group today as well. I've really valued from it as well, and I hope the audience is valued from it as well. And if anybody wants to contact Del, I've popped your business name, Vivo.
Yes, Vivo Physiotherapy.
That's the one.
Right, where's my gin?
Excellent, Del. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks very much.